Minho stared at the blood sample under his microscope, barely noticing the red alert flashing on the station walls. He had seen the news, of course. Everyone had. An alien ship the size of a small moon had appeared near Earth 3 hours ago. But Minho was a scientist, and right now, his synthetic blood project needed him more than panic did. "Are you serious right now?" Hana burst into the lab, her face pale. "Minho, they're broadcasting again. You need to see this." Minho sighed and removed his gloves. Harmony 7 was a research station orbiting Earth, home to 300 scientists and crew members. It was usually quiet, predictable. Today was different. Today everything had changed. The common room was packed with people all staring at the main screen. Minho squeezed in beside Hana just as the broadcast began. The image that appeared made his breath catch in his throat. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Her skin seemed to glow with its own light, shifting between silver and pale gold. Her eyes were the color of deep space, flecked with stars that actually moved. When she spoke, her voice echoed like music through broken glass. "People of Earth," she said, "I am Queen Seraphil of the Valthari Empire. We have traveled across the galaxy to find you." Minho felt Hana grip his arm. Around them, people whispered prayers or curses. Some cried. One person fainted. "We do not come as conquerors," the Queen continued. "We come as seekers. My people are dying. For thousands of years, we have sustained ourselves on the life essence of other beings. We do not kill needlessly, but we must feed to survive. However, our method of survival is failing. We are starving despite consuming enough to sustain worlds." The image shifted to show the inside of the alien vessel. Thousands of crystalline chambers lined the walls, each containing a sleeping figure. Valthari, Minho realized. They looked almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. Too graceful, too still. Like statues of people rather than actual people. "We need something we have never found before," Seraphil said. "A blood resonance that sings with complexity and depth. A pattern of life that can nourish not just our bodies but our fading souls. I have the ability to sense the blood of every living being within my range. I can feel the rhythm of your hearts, the flow of your life force, the unique signature each of you carries." Minho's hand unconsciously moved to his chest, feeling his own heartbeat. Could she really sense him from space? The idea was terrifying and fascinating in equal measure. "I will perform the sensing," the Queen announced. "I will touch the essence of every human alive, and I will choose one. One person whose blood resonance is perfect. That person must come to me willingly. In exchange for their cooperation, I offer this. I will not harvest your species. I will not take by force. One life given freely can save billions." The screen went dark. The common room erupted into chaos. People shouted questions, theories, fears. Someone demanded they contact Earth Defense. Another person suggested they should all volunteer to protect their families. Hana was crying quietly beside Minho. "This is insane," she whispered. "What makes blood resonate? Is it genetic, chemical? What is she even looking for?" Minho had no answers. He was a blood researcher, but this was beyond anything he understood. Alien biology that fed on life essence? Resonance patterns in blood? It sounded like magic, not science. The station commander's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel remain calm. We're going into lockdown as a precaution. Earth Defense is coordinating with world governments. Stay in your quarters until further notice." Minho returned to his small room and tried to sleep, but his mind raced with questions. Why would an advanced alien species need human blood? What could possibly be special about it? And who would she choose? He thought about his mother, Young-suk, back on Earth in Seoul. She ran a small restaurant and worried too much about him working in space. His younger sister Nari was studying engineering at university. Would the Queen sense one of them? Would his family be torn apart by this cosmic lottery? 3 hours later it happened. Minho was lying in bed, still awake when he felt it. A coldness that started at the base of his skull and spread through his entire body. It wasn't painful exactly, but it was invasive. He felt like someone had reached inside his chest and wrapped invisible fingers around his heart. The sensation lasted only seconds, but it left him gasping. He heard shouts in the corridor. Everyone had felt it. The Queen had performed her sensing. Minho waited with the rest of the station crew in the common room. Earth's communication channels were broadcasting non-stop news. Religious leaders called it Judgment Day. Scientists debated the physics of what had happened. Politicians argued about sovereignty and response options. Then, 6 hours after the sensing, Queen Seraphel appeared on every screen in the solar system again. "I have chosen," she said simply. Minho's heart hammered. He looked around at his colleagues. Who would it be? Some brave military officer? A world leader? Someone young and healthy? The resonance I seek belongs to a human named Minho. He is a researcher aboard the station called Harmony 7. His blood sings with a frequency I have never encountered. It carries the sound of defiance against death itself, the echo of creation, the rhythm of hope made manifest. The room went silent. Everyone turned to stare at Minho. He couldn't breathe. This had to be a mistake. He was nobody. Just a scientist who studied synthetic blood. There was nothing special about him. "Minho," the Queen's voice seemed to speak directly to him. "You have 72 hours to come to me willingly. If you do not, I will be forced to harvest enough of your species to find an alternative. I do not wish to do this. The choice is yours. Save yourself and doom millions, or save millions and trust me with your life." The screen went dark again. Hana grabbed Minho's shoulders, her eyes wide with terror. The station commander was already shouting orders into his communicator. Security personnel surrounded Minho before he could even process what had happened. As they led him away to protective custody, Minho's scientific mind tried to make sense of it all. His blood special? He had tested it hundreds of times. It was completely normal. O-negative, healthy markers. Nothing unusual at all. But an alien vampire queen who could sense blood across star systems had chosen him. And now he had 72 hours to decide if he would sacrifice himself to save humanity. Minho had never felt more ordinary or more terrified in his entire life. The holding room was comfortable but felt like a cage. Minho sat on the edge of the bed watching news feeds from Earth on the wall screen. The world had gone insane in the 12 hours since Queen Seraphel had announced his name. Protests filled the streets of every major city. Some people demanded Earth's governments protect him at all costs. Others called him a coward if he didn't go. Religious groups claimed he was chosen by God or the devil, depending on their beliefs. His mother had given a tearful interview, begging the aliens to take her instead. The door opened. Station Commander Park entered, followed by Hana and someone Minho hadn't expected to see. Jiwan, his fellow researcher and closest friend for the past 3 years, pushed past the others and hugged him tightly. "You idiot," she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "Why do you always have to be special?" Minho managed a weak laugh. "I'm really not. This is all a mistake." Commander Park cleared his throat. "Minho, we need to discuss your options. Earth Defense has 48 hours remaining to make a decision. Several world leaders want to fight. They believe we can destroy the alien ship before it harms anyone. Can we?" Minho asked. The commander hesitated. "Probably not. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Maybe millennia. But they're considering it anyway." Hana stepped forward, pulling out a tablet. "I've been analyzing the Queen's broadcast. The way she described your blood, the resonance concept, it's fascinating. I think she's sensing something at a quantum level. Your blood might carry information patterns we can't detect with our equipment." "But why would my blood be different?" Minho asked. "I've tested it myself. There's nothing unusual." Jiwan sat beside him. "Maybe it's not about what's in your blood. Maybe it's about what you've done with it. Your research, Minho. You've spent years trying to create synthetic blood. You've been obsessed with solving death, finding ways to save people who are bleeding out. Maybe that intention left some kind of mark." Minho wanted to dismiss the idea as nonsense, but he couldn't. Quantum mechanics already proved that observation affected reality. Who was to say that years of focused intent couldn't imprint something onto his cells? Over the next day, Minho met with everyone who wanted a piece of him. Military advisors asked him to be brave and refused to let them fight. Political leaders begged him to buy them more time to negotiate. Scientists wanted to run tests on his blood, hoping to synthesize whatever made it special. But it was his family's call that broke him. His mother appeared on the screen, her face worn with worry. Nari stood beside her, trying to be strong but failing. "Minho," his mother said softly, "whatever you decide, I support you. But please think about yourself, too. You don't owe the world your life." Nari wiped her eyes. "We already lost Dad. I can't lose you, too." After the call ended, Minho sat in silence for a long time. His father had died 5 years ago from a blood disease. That was why Minho had dedicated his life to blood research. He wanted to prevent other families from experiencing that loss. Ironic that his blood had become the thing everyone wanted. On the final day, with 12 hours left before the deadline, Minho made his decision. He called Commander Park to his room. "I'm going," he said simply. The commander's face fell. "Minho, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do. If I refuse, she'll kill millions trying to find someone else. I can't live with that. Maybe I'm special, maybe I'm not. But if my cooperation saves lives, then that's what I have to do." News of his decision spread instantly. Earth's response was mixed. Some called him a hero. Others said he was giving in to alien terrorism. His mother cried on every news channel that would listen. But Ji-won understood. She came to see him in his final hours aboard Harmony 7. They sat together in the observation deck, watching Earth turn slowly below them. "I'm scared," Minho admitted. "What if she kills me immediately? What if I'm just food to her?" Ji-won took his hand. "Then you die saving the world. That's more than most people get. But I don't think that's what happens. She called your blood a resonance, not a meal. She needs you for something more complex than just feeding." "You really think so?" "I know so. You're brilliant, Minho, even if you don't see it. Maybe that's what she sensed. Not your blood, but your mind. Your refusal to accept death as inevitable. That's pretty human when you think about it." They sat in comfortable silence until the transport ship arrived. The Valthari vessel had sent a small craft to collect him. It was beautiful and terrifying, made of the same black crystal as the main ship, but smaller, more elegant. Commander Park and a security team escorted Minho to the docking bay. Hana was there, along with half the station crew. They had come to say goodbye. "Bring back alien technology," Hana said, trying to smile. "And try not to get drained completely, okay?" Minho hugged her, then turned to Ji-won. She kissed his cheek and whispered, "Come back to us." The alien craft's door opened with a sound like singing crystal. Inside, the interior glowed with soft blue light. A figure waited for him, a Valthari who wasn't the queen. This one was male, tall and elegant, with silver skin and eyes like molten gold. "I am Kale," the Valthari said in perfect English. "I will escort you to Queen Seraphil. Please board willingly." Minho took a deep breath and stepped onto the alien ship. The door closed behind him with a finality that made his heart race. Through the transparent walls, he watched Harmony 7 grow smaller as they flew toward the massive cathedral ship. The journey took less than an hour. Kale didn't speak, but Minho caught him staring several times as if puzzled by something. Finally, the Valthari broke his silence. "Your blood truly does sing," Kale said quietly. "Even now I can sense it. It sounds like morning after an endless night. I do not understand how something so small can carry such weight." Before Minho could respond, they entered the main vessel. The interior took his breath away. Walls that seemed alive, pulsing with bioluminescent light. Corridors that curved in impossible ways. And everywhere the crystalline chambers containing sleeping Valthari. Thousands upon thousands of them. "They are dying," Kyle said, following Minho's gaze. "We all are. The Queen hopes you are the answer." They reached a massive door carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. It opened, revealing a throne room that seemed to stretch into infinity. And there, seated on a throne of living crystal, was Queen Seraphil. She stood as Minho entered, and he was struck again by her impossible beauty. But up close he saw something else. Weariness, ancient pain. This was a being who had lived for thousands of years and carried the weight of everyone. "Minho," she said, and her voice wrapped around him like silk. "You came." "Thank you." He found his voice, though it shook. "You didn't leave me much choice." To his surprise, the Queen smiled sadly. "No, I suppose I didn't. Desperation makes monsters of us all. Come sit with me. We have much to discuss, you and I. Your blood may save my people, but first, I must help you understand what you truly are." Minho walked forward on trembling legs, toward an alien vampire queen, toward answers he wasn't sure he wanted, toward a destiny he had never imagined. And despite his terror, a small part of him, the scientist part, was desperately curious about what came next. The throne room was less intimidating up close, though no less beautiful. Queen Seraphil gestured to a seat beside her throne, something that looked like a chair but seemed to float without support. Minho sat carefully, half expecting to fall through it, but it held his weight perfectly. "You expected to die the moment you arrived," Seraphil said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes," Minho admitted. "I thought you would drain me immediately and that would be that." The Queen's expression softened. If I wanted only your death, I would not have needed you to come willingly. I could have taken you from your station in seconds. No, Minho. What I need from you is far more complex than simple feeding. She stood and walked to a window that showed the vastness of space. Earth hung in the distance, a blue and green jewel against the darkness. Minho joined her, unable to resist the pull of seeing his home from this perspective. Let me tell you a story, Seraphel began. 50,000 years ago, my people were dying on a harsh world. We were weak, few in number, and our planet was slowly killing us. Then one of us changed. She discovered she could consume the life force of other creatures and sustain herself beyond normal limits. We called it the first feeding. It saved us. You became vampires, Minho said. Your word for it, yes. We evolved to feed on life essence. We learned to do it without killing most of the time. We took only what we needed and moved on. When we developed space travel, the galaxy opened to us. So much life, so many worlds. We thought we had found paradise. Seraphel's voice grew heavy. But something went wrong. Over thousands of years, we noticed a change. The feeding that once sustained us began to feel empty. We consumed more and more, but felt less and less nourished. It was like eating food with no nutrition. We could survive, but we were slowly starving despite being full. Why? Minho asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Because we were consuming simple life patterns. Animals, plants, basic sentient species. Their life force carried only simple messages. Survive, reproduce, grow. At first this was enough. But we evolved again, without meaning to. Our consciousness became more complex and we needed more complex sustenance. The Queen turned to face him. Then we found humans. Young species barely out of your planetary cradle, but when I sensed your world's blood patterns, I heard something we had never encountered before. Complexity. Depth. Every human carries patterns of creativity, art, love, defiance. You create meaning from your mortality. You rebel against death by making something that outlasts you. Minho thought about his research, his desperate attempt to create blood that could save lives. His father's face flashed through his mind. Yes, he supposed that was a kind of rebellion against death. But why me specifically? He asked. There are billions of humans. Many more creative, more accomplished, more important than I am. Seraphel reached out and placed her hand over his heart. Her touch was cool but not cold. May I show you? I need to sense your blood more deeply. It won't hurt, but it will feel strange. Minho nodded, his mouth too dry to speak. The Queen closed her eyes and he felt that invasive sensation again, but stronger. It was like someone was reading a book written on his bones, tracing patterns through his veins. There, she whispered. Do you feel it? The rhythm of your blood carries the imprint of every moment you spent trying to defeat death. Years of research, of failure and hope and trying again. You have unconsciously written your purpose into your very cells. Creation where there should be destruction. Life where there should be death. That is what makes you perfect. She opened her eyes and Minho saw wonder in them. Your blood doesn't just carry life. It carries human ambition. The refusal to accept limits. That quantum imprint, that pattern of consciousness is what my people need to survive. Minho's head spun. So you want to feed on me? Take that pattern? I want to learn from it, Seraphel corrected. Feeding is crude. Consuming you would be like burning a priceless book for warmth. No, I need you alive, conscious, continuing to create that pattern. And I need your help to teach my people how to create rather than simply consume. Over the following days, Minho lived in the most surreal situation of his life. The Queen gave him quarters that were more luxurious than anything he'd ever known. He had freedom to explore parts of the ship, always escorted by Kyle, who slowly warmed to him. He met other Valthari. Lady Isara, the chief scientist, was fascinated by human biology and asked him endless questions. The silent ones, Valthari, who had stopped feeding and fallen into a death-like sleep, lined entire corridors. Their chambers hummed with machines keeping them from dying completely. They gave up, Isara explained. When feeding stopped satisfying them, they chose sleep over starvation. There are millions of them throughout our empire. Minho spent hours with Seraphel talking about everything. She told him about worlds she had seen, civilizations that had risen and fallen. He told her about Earth, about his family, about the small restaurant his mother ran that served the best kimchi stew in Seoul. You speak of such simple things with such passion, she observed one evening. Your life is measured in decades, yet you burn so brightly. Maybe that's the point, Minho said. We don't have thousands of years. We have to make the time we have matter. It was during one of these conversations that Seraphil asked him the question that changed everything. Will you allow me to feed from you? Not to drain you, but to taste what makes you so unique. I promise you will survive it. I need to understand your resonance completely if I am to help my people. Minho considered. He had come here expecting to die. If she only wanted a taste and it would help her understand, why refuse? Okay, he said. What do I need to do? Seraphil produced a small blade that looked like it was made of crystallized starlight. Give me your hand. This will be intimate, I warn you. When we feed, we share something of ourselves as well. You will see pieces of my memory, feel echoes of my emotions. She cut his palm gently. The pain was sharp but brief. Blood welled up and she brought his hand to her lips. As she drank, Minho gasped. He saw flashes of her life. A harsh world under twin suns. The first feeding. A desperate woman consuming light itself to survive. Worlds beyond counting. The weight of ruling an empire for 50,000 years. The loneliness of immortality. And underneath it all, a desperate hope that this small human might hold the answer to saving her dying people. But Seraphil saw his memories too. A young boy watching his father grow weaker, unable to help. Years in laboratories, failing and trying again. The moment he created his first successful synthetic blood cell. Jiwon's smile. Anna's terrible jokes. His mother's cooking. His sister's laugh. When she released his hand, they were both breathing hard. Tears streamed down the queen's face, the first tears she had cried in millennia. Your life is so small, she whispered, and yet it contains everything. Hope, love, pain, purpose. I had forgotten what it felt like to hope. Minho felt changed too. He understood her now, the terrible burden of her existence. She wasn't a monster. She was a leader trying desperately to save her people, willing to humble herself before a species she could easily destroy. I'll help you, he said, however I can. But not just by being food. If my blood carries this pattern because of what I do, then maybe your people need to start doing things too. Creating, not just consuming. Seraphil smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. I was hoping you would say that. I have an idea, Minho. A proposal that could save both our species, but it will require a sacrifice from both humans and Valthari. It will require us to change our very natures. Tell me, Minho said, still holding her gaze, and she did. As she explained her vision, Minho realized that his choice to come here had not just saved millions of humans. It had set in motion something far greater, a partnership between species, a new way of existing in the universe. It was terrifying and beautiful, and he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Seraphil's plan was ambitious and terrifying in equal measure. Instead of consuming humans by force, she proposed a partnership. Humans would donate blood willingly, prepared with the same kind of conscious intent that made Minho's blood special. In exchange, the Valthari would share their advanced technology and protect human space from other galactic threats. But the plan had one major requirement. The Valthari would have to change fundamentally. They would need to learn to create, to participate in life rather than just consume it. For a species that had spent 50,000 years as predators, this was asking them to become something entirely new. Many of my people will resist, Seraphil admitted as they sat in her private chambers. Kale already thinks I have gone mad. He believes you have seduced me with human weakness. Have I? Minho asked, only half joking. The queen smiled, that rare expression that made her look less like an immortal ruler and more like a person. Perhaps, but if so, it is a weakness I welcome. I am tired, Minho. Tired of watching my people fade. Tired of the loneliness of immortality. Your blood showed me something I had forgotten. The joy of being alive, not just existing. Over the following weeks, Minho worked with Lady Asara to develop what they called the Resonance Protocol. He would donate blood while focusing his mind on specific patterns: hope, creativity, determination, compassion. Asara's instruments measured quantum fluctuations in his blood as he did this, confirming what Seraphil had sensed. His consciousness was literally imprinting information onto his cells. This is impossible by our understanding of biology, Asara said, her eyes wide with fascination. Yet here it is happening. Your species does this naturally? I don't think so, Minho said. I think it's happening because I believe it can. Maybe that's the real trick. Humans believe in impossible things hard enough that sometimes we make them real. The first test was with a dying Valthari named Taman, one of the silent ones who had fallen into stasis decades ago. They extracted a small amount of Minho's blood, prepared with his focused intent and introduced it into Taemin's system. The results were immediate and shocking. Taemin woke from his sleep, gasping. His eyes opened wide and tears began to fall from them. He had not cried in over 1,000 years. "I can feel," he whispered in awe. "Emotions, fear, hope, pain, joy. They are all there, so bright it burns." "What have you done to me?" Seraphel knelt beside him. "We have given you what humans call life. Not just existence, but the experience of being alive. Do you accept this gift?" Taemin looked at Minho, really seeing him for the first time. "You are so small, so fragile, yet you carry galaxies inside you. Yes, I accept. Even if this pain is the price, I accept." Word of Taemin's transformation spread through the Valthari ship. Some were excited, hopeful. Others were disturbed, calling it contamination. Kale was among the latter. He confronted Minho one day in the gardens, a section of the ship where plants from 100 worlds grew under artificial light. "You are destroying us," Kyle said, his voice cold. "Making us weak. We are predators, not prey. We do not need to feel human emotions to survive." "But you're not surviving," Minho countered. "You're dying slowly. The Queen told me about the decay, how feeding doesn't nourish you anymore. Maybe you need to feel to truly live. Life is not about feelings. It is about strength, power, survival. You humans live such brief lives precisely because you waste energy on emotions. We became great by rising above such things. And yet you're here starving despite having the power to take whatever you want. Maybe being above emotions isn't the advantage you think it is." Kale's eyes flashed dangerously, but he didn't attack. Instead, he left without another word. Minho told Seraphel about the encounter. "He will be a problem," she said quietly. "Kale has been my military commander for 12,000 years. He is loyal to what the Valthari were, not what they might become. I must tread carefully." Despite the resistance, Seraphel pushed forward with the plan. She contacted Earth's governments, proposing the formal partnership. The response was chaotic. Some nations refused outright, calling it surrender to aliens. Others saw the potential and wanted to negotiate. It was Ji-Wan who became humanity's unexpected champion. She had been working with other scientists on Earth, studying the little information Minho had sent back about Valthari biology. She addressed the United Earth Council with a passion that surprised everyone. "We have a choice," she said. "We can refuse and try to fight beings who cross the galaxy in ships we cannot even comprehend. Or we can take this unprecedented opportunity. They are offering us their technology, their protection, and a place in a galactic community we didn't even know existed. All they ask is for willing blood donations and the chance to learn from us. We, the young species who they could crush in moments, have something they desperately need. That is power. That is leverage. We should use it." Her speech went viral. Public opinion began to shift. The idea of humans having something valuable to trade rather than being helpless victims appealed to people. Volunteer lists opened for those willing to donate blood. Millions signed up. Minho watched the broadcast from the Valthari ship, amazed. "She's braver than I am," he told Seraphel. "She loves you," the Queen observed. Minho blinked. "Ji-Wan? We're just friends." Seraphel gave him a look that suggested she had lived 50,000 years and knew better, if you say so. As preparations continued, Minho spent more time with different Valthari, learning their stories. He discovered they weren't the uniform species he had imagined. They had artists who had not created anything new in thousands of years, scientists who had stopped asking questions, musicians whose songs had become stale repetitions. One Valthari woman named Sumi approached him shyly. "Could you teach me about human art?" she asked. "I used to paint before the decay made everything feel meaningless." But when Taemin woke, he described colors in a way I had forgotten existed. "I want to remember what it felt like to create." Minho knew nothing about painting, but he talked to her about his work instead. "Creating synthetic blood is like art," he explained. "You start with an idea of what you want to make. Then you try, fail, adjust, try again. Each failure teaches you something. Each success brings joy. It's not about the final product. It's about the process, the journey of making something that didn't exist before." Sumi listened with an intensity that made Minho nervous. When he finished, she bowed deeply. "I understand. Thank you. I will try again. I will paint. And I will let myself fail. And I will learn from it." As weeks passed, more Valthari consumed Minho's resonance-imprinted blood. Each one who did began to change. They started talking about their feelings, something they had not done in millennia. Some became emotional to the point of breaking down. Others discovered joy in small things they had overlooked for thousands of years. But the changes weren't all positive. Some Valthari couldn't handle the sudden influx of emotions. One named Daehyun became so overwhelmed by guilt for the lives he had consumed over his long existence that he tried to harm himself. Seraphil had to put him in medical stasis. "This is the danger," she told Minho. "Emotions are powerful. For beings who have lived without them for so long, they can be overwhelming. We must go slowly." Yet time was running out. More silent ones fell into stasis every day. The Valthari decay was accelerating. Seraphil made a difficult decision. She gathered her people and announced the partnership with Earth publicly, without waiting for every nation to agree. "We are changing," she told her empire. "We must change or die. Humans offer us a path forward. Those who wish to follow this path do so. Those who cannot accept it, I will provide sanctuary, but I will not force you." The Valthari Empire split. About half accepted Seraphil's vision. The other half, led by Kale, rejected it. They saw the changes as corruption, a loss of Valthari identity. Kyle confronted the queen in her throne room while Minho watched. "You would make us human," Kale accused. "Strip away everything that made us great." "I would make us alive again," Seraphil replied. "Greatness means nothing if we are all dead. Then perhaps death is better than this shame." The words hung in the air like a threat. Minho felt the tension building. He had hoped both species could find peace together, but he realized now that change always had a cost. And Kale was not willing to pay it. The tension between Seraphil and Kale grew worse each day. The Valthari who had accepted the resonance blood were changing in ways that disturbed the traditionalists. They laughed now. They cried. They argued about art and philosophy instead of conquest and expansion. To Kale, it looked like weakness spreading through their people like a disease. Minho worked long hours with Lady Isara, refining the resonance protocol. They discovered that the process worked better when donors focused on specific emotions or ideas. A musician donating while thinking about creating music produced blood that helped Valthari artists. A teacher focusing on curiosity helped Valthari scientists rediscover their passion for learning. "This is incredible," Isara said, her eyes bright with excitement, an emotion she had not felt in centuries before tasting the resonance blood herself. "We are not just receiving sustenance. We are receiving knowledge, experience, the essence of what makes each human unique." "It's like a library written in blood," Minho said. "Every person has a different story to tell." On Earth, the first official blood sanctuaries opened. These were comfortable facilities where volunteers could donate blood, while trained facilitators helped them focus their consciousness. The blood was immediately processed and sent to Valthari medical ships in orbit. Jiwan became the director of the Soul Sanctuary, the largest in Asia. She sent regular reports to Minho, her messages filled with hope and wonder. "You should see them," she wrote. "People from all walks of life united in this strange gift. An old grandmother donates while thinking about the love she has for her grandchildren. A young artist focuses on the joy of creation. Even children participate, though we only take tiny amounts and have them think about playing in imagination. It is beautiful, Minho. What we are building here is beautiful." But not everyone on Earth was happy. Protests continued in many cities. Some people called the sanctuaries vampire feeding stations and the volunteers blood slaves. Religious extremists bombed a sanctuary in Moscow, killing 12 people. The backlash made Minho's heart ache. He shared his concerns with Seraphil one evening. They had fallen into a routine of having dinner together, a strange ritual where she did not eat but kept him company as he consumed actual food. She seemed to enjoy watching him eat, fascinated by such a basic biological need. "Change frightens people," Seraphil said. "Both your people and mine. They have lived a certain way for so long that any alternative feels like a threat. But the alternative to change is death. I will not let my people die, and I will not let yours suffer for helping us." "Kyle is planning something," Minho said quietly. "I can feel it. The way he looks at me, at you. He's not going to accept this." Seraphil reached across the table and took his hand. Her touch had become familiar now, comforting rather than alien. "I know. I have known Kale for 12,000 years. He is a warrior, loyal and strong, but he cannot see that the greatest battles are not always fought with weapons. Sometimes survival requires surrender. Surrender of old ways, old certainties. Their hands remained linked, and Minho felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with blood resonance. He had grown close to this ancient queen, closer than he had expected or planned. She was brilliant, burdened, and despite her power, achingly lonely. He understood that loneliness. He had felt it too, in his years buried in research trying to solve death. The moment broke when alarms blared throughout the ship. Seraphel's eyes widened. No, he would not dare, but Kale had dared. He had gathered the traditionalist Valthari, those who refused the resonance blood, and seized control of half the Valthari fleet. The ships that had been protecting Earth's orbit suddenly turned their weapons toward the planet. Seraphel raced to her command center with Minho close behind. The main screen showed Kale's face, cold and determined. "Forgive me, my queen," he said, "but I cannot watch our people become slaves to human emotion. This ends now. I will harvest Earth as we should have done from the beginning. We will take enough blood to sustain our people without this humiliating partnership. The Valthari will remain Valthari." "Kyle, no," Seraphel shouted. "You will kill millions. Better their death than our corruption. I am sorry it has come to this, but you have left me no choice." The transmission ended. Moments later, energy beams lanced from Kale's ships toward Earth's major cities. Defense shields absorbed some of the damage, but not all. Buildings fell. People died. The attack had begun. Seraphel's face went pale with horror and rage. "All ships loyal to me engage Kale's forces. Protect Earth at all cost. He must be stopped." The space around Earth became a battlefield. Valthari fought Valthari, their crystal ships dancing through space in deadly combat. It was beautiful and terrible. Technology far beyond human comprehension being used to kill. On Earth, cities burned. The sanctuary in Moscow, already damaged by the earlier bombing, took a direct hit. Jawan's sanctuary in Seoul was targeted, but saved by a Valthari ship that threw itself in the path of the energy beam. The ship was destroyed, its crew of 23 Valthari who had embraced the resonance dying to protect humans. Minho watched in horror, feeling responsible. This war was happening because of him, because of his blood, because he had come here and changed everything. Seraphel felt his guilt and turned to him. "This is not your fault. Kale made his choice. I made mine. You simply showed us there was a choice to make. People are dying because I exist," Minho said, his voice breaking. "People are also living because you exist. Every Valthari who has found joy again, every human who has discovered purpose in helping us, they all live because of your courage. Do not let Kale's fear destroy what we have built." Lady Asara burst into the command center. "My queen, Kale's forces have captured one of our medical ships. They are heading for the Seoul sanctuary. Intelligence suggests he plans to capture human volunteers and drain them en masse to feed his followers." Seraphel's expression hardened. "He will not touch them. Scramble all ships to Seoul's defense." But Minho knew the numbers. Kyle had half the fleet. Seraphel could not protect every sanctuary while also defending critical Earth infrastructure. Too many targets, not enough ships. Then an idea struck him. "What if we give them what they want?" he said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at him. "Explain," Seraphel commanded. "Kyle wants blood that is untainted by human emotion, right? Blood that is just sustenance. But what if we could show his followers that there is a better way? What if we broadcast my blood signature across all channels? Every Valthari in space would feel it, including Kale's forces." "That would mark you as a target," Izara said. "Every traditionalist would try to capture you. I know, but it would also draw them away from Earth. And maybe, just maybe, some of them would feel what your people felt. The resonance, the possibility of being alive again. Maybe some would defect." Seraphel shook her head. "It is too dangerous. I will not use you as bait. You are not using me. I am volunteering. Again. Because this is what humans do. We take risks to save others. That is what makes our blood sing, right? Let me do this." The queen looked at him for a long moment, emotions warring on her face. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. But I will protect you with my life if necessary." "I would expect nothing less," Minho said, trying to smile despite his fear. Lady Asara worked quickly, setting up equipment that would amplify Minho's blood signature and broadcast it across space. Minho sat in the center of the apparatus, focusing his mind on every reason he had dedicated his life to defeating death. His father's face, his mother's tears, Jiwon's determination, Hana's friendship, the countless strangers he had never met but hoped to save. The broadcast began. Every Valthari in the solar system felt it. A blood signature that sang with human defiance, with love stronger than fear, with hope that refused to die. On Kael's command ship, alarms sounded as dozens of his crew began to waver. Some wept openly, shocked by the emotions flooding through them. Others stood frozen, experiencing feelings they had forgotten existed. Kael felt it too. The resonance touched even him, and for a moment he remembered what it felt like to care about something beyond duty and tradition. He remembered loving someone long ago before the decay had stripped away his ability to feel. But Kael was strong. He pushed the emotions away and gave his final order. All ships converge on the Queen's vessel. Capture the human. End this corruption now. Kael's fleet descended on Seraphel's ship like predators on prey. Energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. Seraphel's loyal forces fought desperately, but they were outnumbered. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, each one taking Valthari lives with it. Inside the command center, Minho maintained his broadcast, sweat beading on his forehead from the mental effort. He could feel his consciousness spreading across space, touching the minds of thousands of Valthari. Some recoiled, others embraced it. Many stood frozen, caught between what they had been and what they could become. Kael's boarding parties have breached the hull, Izara reported, her voice tight. They are coming for you, Minho. Seraphel drew a weapon that looked like crystallized lightning. Then they will have to go through me first. All Royal Guard converge on this location. Protect Minho at all costs. But Kael was not leading a simple assault. His forces cut power to sections of the ship, sealed bulkheads, and separated Seraphel's defenders. It was a surgical strike, planned and executed by someone who knew this vessel better than anyone except the Queen herself. He is hurting us, Seraphel realized, separating me from you. We need to move now. They ran through the crystalline corridors, Minho flanked by Seraphel and her remaining guards. Behind them they could hear Kael's forces advancing. The sound of energy weapons echoed through the ship. They reached the garden section, the place where Minho had first argued with Kael weeks ago. It seemed fitting that it would end here. Seraphel positioned her guards at the entrance. This is defensible, she said. We make our stand here. The doors exploded inward. Kael strode through the smoke, his silver skin gleaming, his eyes cold and determined. Behind him came 50 warriors, all traditionalists, all refusing to accept the change Minho represented. Stand aside, my queen, Kael said softly. This does not have to end in your death. Give me the human and I will spare you and any who surrender. You know I cannot do that, Seraphel replied, raising her weapon. Then you force my hand. The battle was brief and brutal. Seraphel's guards fought with desperate courage, but Kael's forces were too many and too skilled. One by one, the Queen's defenders fell. Seraphel herself fought like a creature of legend, moving faster than Minho's eyes could track, her weapon cutting through enemies with precision, but even she could not hold forever. Kael engaged her directly, and they fought in a blur of movement and power. They were evenly matched, two ancient beings who had trained together for thousands of years. But Kael had more soldiers, and while Seraphel fought him, they advanced on Minho. Minho had no weapons, no training, no way to defend himself. As a Valthari warrior reached for him, he closed his eyes and did the only thing he could. He intensified his broadcast, pouring every ounce of his consciousness into his blood signature. Remember what it felt like to love, he thought desperately. Remember joy. Remember purpose. Remember being alive. The warrior's hand stopped inches from Minho's throat. Tears began streaming down the Valthari's face. I remember, she whispered. My daughter. I had a daughter so long ago. She died, and I felt such pain that I chose to stop feeling it all. But she was beautiful. And I loved her. I loved her so much. She turned and drove her weapon into the Valthari beside her, defending Minho instead of capturing him. Chaos erupted as more of Kael's soldiers began to defect. Overwhelmed by the emotions Minho's resonance awakened in them. Kael saw his forces crumbling and roared in frustration. He struck Seraphel hard, sending her crashing into a crystalline tree. Before she could recover, he was on Minho, grabbing him by the throat and lifting him off the ground. Stop the broadcast, Kael commanded. Stop it now or I will crush your throat. Minho gasped for air, but he did not stop. He could not stop. Too many lives depended on this. He met Kael's eyes and saw the pain there, the fear beneath the anger. Kale was terrified of change, of losing the identity he had held for 12,000 years. You do not have to be afraid, Minho choked out. Change does not mean death. It means growth, evolution. Your people can become more, not less. Our people were already perfect, Kale said, but his voice wavered. Nothing that dies is perfect. You are dying, Kale, all of you. But you can live again if you let yourself. For a moment, just a moment, Kale's grip loosened. Doubt flickered in his eyes. Then Seraphel slammed into him from the side, tearing Minho from his grasp. They rolled across the ground, and when they separated, both were injured. Enough, old friend, Seraphel said, breathing hard. This civil war ends now. Too many have died already. Valthari killing Valthari while the humans we are supposed to protect suffer. Is this who we have become? Kale struggled to his feet, blood running from a wound on his temple. Around them, the fighting had stopped. Valthari on both sides stood frozen, watching their leaders, waiting to see what would happen next. Into this tense silence came an unexpected sound. Crying, not from a Valthari, but transmitted from Earth. The communication channels had been left open, and Jiwan's voice came through, raw with grief. Minho, if you can hear this, the Soul Sanctuary is gone. Kale's forces destroyed it before his main fleet left. Hundreds dead, volunteers, staff, civilians in the surrounding buildings. I survived because I was in the basement, but everyone else, they are all gone. Minho felt his heart shatter. All those people, willing volunteers who had believed in the partnership, who had trusted that their sacrifice would matter, dead because of a war they did not start. I need you to know something, Jiwan continued, her voice breaking. Before they died, the volunteers were in the middle of a donation session. They were focusing on hope, on building a better future. Their last conscious thoughts were about helping others. That is what humans do, Minho. Even in death, we try to create life. Tell the Queen, tell all of them. This is what makes us special. Not our blood, our refusal to give up on each other. The transmission ended. Silence filled the garden. Then slowly, Kyle sank to his knees. His weapon fell from his hand. What have I done? He whispered. I became the very thing I accused you of becoming. A monster who destroys instead of protects. I thought I was saving our people, but I have only brought more death. Seraphel approached him carefully. Kyle, my oldest friend, my most trusted commander. You were afraid. I understand. But fear makes us cruel. Hope makes us strong. Will you let me help you remember hope? She extended her hand. In her palm was a vial of blood. Minho's blood, prepared with resonance. The choice crystallized in the moment. Kale could reject it, cling to tradition, and continue the war. Or he could accept change, no matter how terrifying it was. Kale looked at the vial for a long time. Then he looked at Minho, this small human who had somehow brought an empire to its knees without firing a single shot. You said I do not have to be afraid, Kale said. But I am afraid. I am more afraid than I have been in 12,000 years. If I drink this, I will change. The person I have been will die. No, Minho said softly, moving closer despite his injuries. The person you have been will grow. Evolution is not death. It is becoming more than you were. You commanded armies, Kale. You protected your people through countless wars. That strength does not disappear when you gain the ability to feel. It becomes deeper, more meaningful. You will still be you, just more alive. Kale took the vial with a shaking hand. He drank it in one swift motion as if afraid he would lose courage if he hesitated. Then he waited. The resonance hit him like a wave. Memories flooded back, feelings he had suppressed for thousands of years. He remembered his daughter as his defecting soldier had. He remembered his first love. He remembered the joy of creation, the satisfaction of protecting others, the deep bonds of friendship. He remembered caring, and then he wept. Kyle, the ancient warrior who had not cried since the Valthari had evolved beyond emotions, collapsed and sobbed like a child. Seraphel knelt beside him, holding him as 12,000 years of suppressed grief poured out. The other Valthari watched in stunned silence. Their greatest warrior, their symbol of traditional strength, was crying, and somehow it did not make him look weak. It made him look alive. One by one, the traditionalist Valthari laid down their weapons. The war was over. The war ended, but its scars remained. Earth mourned the thousands who had died in the attacks. The Soul Sanctuary became a memorial site, with names carved into crystal provided by the Valthari. Minho attended the ceremony via transmission from the Valthari ship. his heart heavy with guilt and grief. Jiwon spoke at the memorial. She looked tired, older than her years, but her voice was strong. These people died believing in something better. They died hoping that two species could find peace. We honor them not by giving up, but by making their sacrifice mean something. We continue the work. We build the future they died for. After the ceremony, Minho requested a private channel with Jiwon. When her face appeared on the screen, they both struggled to find words. "I am so sorry," Minho said finally. "If I had not come here, if I had not started this, they would still be alive." "If you had not come, Kyle would have harvested Earth anyway," Jiwon replied. "Millions would have died instead of thousands. You saved us, Minho, even if it does not feel that way right now. I miss home. I miss you." Jiwon smiled sadly. "I miss you too. But you cannot come back, can you? You are too important now. The bridge between our species," she was right. Over the following months, Minho became the symbol of the partnership between humans and Valthari. He worked with both species to establish the formal treaty that would govern their alliance. The Resonance Covenant, they called it. The terms were carefully negotiated. Humans would establish sanctuaries across Earth and its colonies. Volunteers would donate blood freely, never coerced. The Valthari would provide advanced medical technology, extending human lifespans by decades. They would also share defensive technology and help humanity expand to new worlds. But the most important clause was cultural. The Valthari agreed to learn from humans to develop art and creativity again. In return, humans would learn Valthari science and philosophy. It was not just a trade agreement. It was a promise to grow together. Kale, transformed by the resonance blood, became an unexpected champion of the new order. His military forces, seeing their commander embrace change, followed his example. The traditionalist faction dissolved as more Valthari experienced what it meant to feel again. "I spent 12,000 years believing strength meant suppressing weakness," Kale told Minho one day. "But true strength is having the courage to be vulnerable, to care even when caring hurts. You taught me that, and I am grateful." The Silent Ones began waking one by one. As resonance blood became available to all Valthari, the ancient sleepers stirred from their death-like state. Each awakening was different. Some wept with joy, others struggled with emotions too long suppressed. But all of them lived again, truly lived, for the first time in centuries. Lady Asara threw herself into research with renewed passion. She worked with Hana, who had transferred to a joint Earth-Valthari research station, to study the quantum nature of consciousness. Together, they made breakthroughs that revolutionized both species' understanding of life itself. On Earth, the sanctuaries flourished. What had started as a desperate measure became an honored tradition. Young people volunteered as a rite of passage. Artists prepared their blood with visions of beauty. Scientists imprinted knowledge and curiosity. Parents focused on love for their children. The Valthari who consumed this blood changed profoundly. They began creating art for the first time in millennia. Music composed by Valthari who had rediscovered emotion became wildly popular on both worlds. Paintings, sculptures, literature, all of it poured from a species that had forgotten how to create. Sumi, the artist who had asked Minho for advice, held her first exhibition. Her paintings depicted the moment of awakening, the transition from mere existence to true life. They were displayed on Earth and Valthari worlds alike, symbols of the transformation both species were undergoing. But the most significant change was personal. Minho and Seraphel's relationship evolved into something neither had expected. They continued the feeding ritual monthly, but it had become sacred to both of them. More intimate than friendship, deeper than partnership. "I am falling in love with you," Seraphel admitted one evening, after a feeding session. "It is foolish. You will age and die while I remain immortal. But I cannot seem to help myself." Minho took her hand.
"I have been in love with you for weeks."
"Maybe months." I tried to deny it because it seemed impossible. "You are a 50,000-year-old queen who rules an empire. I am a scientist who just wanted to create synthetic blood." "You did create synthetic blood," she said with a smile. "You created a synthesis between two species. You made something impossible real. That is what humans do best." They both knew the relationship had no easy future. Minho would age while Seraphel remained frozen in time. But they decided that made each moment more precious, not less. They would have decades together, and that was enough. Years passed. The Resonance Alliance grew stronger. Humanity expanded to new worlds under Valthari protection. The first generation of children grew up knowing aliens as partners, not threats. Some humans even underwent Valthari medical procedures that extended their lifespans, though they would never achieve true immortality. Minho continued his work, now directing a massive research initiative that studied the intersection of consciousness and biology. He was 45 years old, his hair graying when the breakthrough came. "We have done it," Izara announced, bursting into his lab. "The resonance can be replicated artificially. We can create blood that carries the same patterns as human donation, but without requiring actual humans. It will take time to perfect, but eventually, the Valthari will not need donations at all. We will be able to sustain ourselves independently." Minho felt a strange mix of pride and melancholy. His life's work completed, the Valthari would survive without needing human blood. It was everything he had hoped for, but it also meant the end of an era. That evening, he told Seraphel about the discovery. They stood in the observation deck of a new station that orbited a joint human-Valthari colony world. Below them, both species lived and worked together, a sight that would have been impossible 5 years ago. "This is wonderful news," Seraphel said, but her voice was sad. "You will not need me anymore," Minho said quietly. She turned to him, cupping his face in her hands. "I will always need you, not for your blood, but for what you taught my people. How to hope, how to create, how to be alive. That is a gift that cannot be replicated artificially." Minho kissed her, still amazed that this was his life now. "I'm going to get old. Really old. You are going to watch me deteriorate and die. I know, and I will treasure every moment. Every gray hair, every wrinkle, every change. Because change is what makes life precious. You taught me that too." A commotion on the planet below drew their attention. The first Valthari child born through natural reproduction in 10,000 years was being celebrated. The resonance blood had done more than sustain the Valthari. It had reawakened their ability to reproduce, to create new life rather than just extend old life. The baby cried, and the sound was transmitted across all channels. Valthari throughout the system wept at the sound, overcome with emotions they had forgotten they could feel. "A new generation," Seraphel whispered. "They will grow up knowing both species as one people. They will not remember what we were, only what we can become." Minho watched the celebrations below and felt a deep sense of peace. His father had died from a blood disease, and in trying to prevent that suffering, Minho had ended up changing the fate of 2 species. He had not cured death, but he had given life new meaning. "Your blood gave my people life," Seraphel said, echoing words from years ago. "But your ideas gave them purpose." "That is what humans do," Minho replied, also echoing that old conversation. "We turn the impossible into the inevitable." They stood together, one mortal and one immortal, watching the celebration of new life below. Around them, ships of both species traveled freely between worlds. The sanctuaries on Earth continued their work, though now it was more tradition than necessity. Humans donated not because they had to, but because they wanted to share in the partnership they had built. Minho knew he had perhaps 40 more years if he was lucky. Seraphel would live for thousands more, but in this moment, watching the future they had created together, that difference did not matter. They had proved that beings from different worlds with different biologies and lifespans could still find common ground. Love did not require immortality. Hope did not need certainty, and creating something beautiful did not require it to last forever. "Thank you," Seraphel said, "for coming to me when I called, for trusting me when you had no reason to, for showing my people what we had forgotten." "Thank you," Minho replied, "for choosing me, for seeing something in my blood that I did not know was there, for teaching me that being ordinary can be extraordinary." Behind them, in the stations and ships and worlds of the Resonance Alliance, billions of beings from 2 species lived and worked and created together. Artists made new beauty. Scientists asked new questions. Children played, unaware that their simple existence was a miracle. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that Minho had proven through his blood, his courage, and his love. Humanity's greatest strength was not its technology or its weapons or even its creativity.